The players, the personalities who come from around the world to play professional soccer in the United States.
Go, go, USA! Oh, it's incredible!
In a world where some call it football, football, or soccer, they dare to call it foosball. One thinks New York is blue. The other thinks New York is red. Soccer in America from a German perspective. Let them put some sauerkraut on your hot dog and join them for the Schnitzel Boys USA Hour.
Hello, 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 hello. Hello. Da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Hello, everyone. My name is Stefan Schnitzel. It's Monday night. It's Schnitzel night. I'm trying to enunciate because I got mush mouth. As you can see, I'm going solo tonight. There's no Bjorn tonight. Did I scare him away with my accusations of him not hating Greg enough last week? I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if he ever comes back. No, I'm joking. Although I was very harsh about Greg last week against him. He is hiking, I believe, or he's on a wilderness journey somewhere in the highest Himalayas. No, he's here in California, but he's off the mountains, so there's no reception. He's got meetings. When I was a little out of the loop this weekend doing his thing. Good for him. I am riding solo. I am in what seems like my mother's basement, doing my rants, my manifestos, if you will. But no, I'm in a nice little modest one-bedroom apartment that I live in Los Angeles, and here I am on a Monday night, and I'd love to share my thoughts with my soccer brethren and sisters, about soccer, about U.S. soccer, about MLS soccer. You know, the German stuff, we still got a ways, although the German women are playing. I will talk about the Olympics. There will be an Olympics segment at the end of this. Talk about the men and the women, because that's what's going on. And the other thing that's going on in the American soccer sphere, other than the U.S. men's national team coaching job search, but there's not a lot of news with that. That's just good. I'll give a little update on that based on the stuff I am hearing. So I'll do that. But the main topic tonight, and we have a topic, other than the ones you comment for the live listeners, if you want to talk to me directly, pop in the comments, ask me a question, talk to me. I'm trying to make this interactive. And soon we will have a call-in portion. I started this podcast with that in mind, and we just, tech-wise, it was always a little bit past our reach. But I believe with Zoom and stuff, we should be able to pull that off. But not this week, but soon, because we want to hear your lovely voices. But if you want to talk to us, chat, email us, tweet at us, Schnitzel Boys on Twitter, on X. But today, we have a main theme. The main theme, and I hope this doesn't sound too dramatic, but U.S. soccer is at war. We are at war. This is a modern American soccer war. It does sound too dramatic, doesn't it? Well, I was kind of being facetious. I was trying to make it sound dramatic. I would love to start, to be clear, by the way, we're talking about the Leagues Cup, Open Cup, Don Garber, and the whole Open Cup stuff isn't ending. It's continuing. It's continuing now. It's reached its second crescendo because Don Garber pulled out a U.S. Open Cup saying schedule congestion. And to translate, that means we're going to focus on our cup, the Leagues Cup, more than the Open Cup. The fans protested. Now we got the Leagues Cup, and it's pretty underwhelming. Fans aren't really going a lot of the games. It's a lot of MLS matchups, and it's like, sure. Will it heat up and get more interesting in later rounds? Yeah, I don't doubt that. But Don Garber himself talked about U.S. Open Cup being in Atlanta and then being like, oh, there's only 1,500 people there. We can't rent a big venue for that many people. That doesn't make any sense. Now, he was mistaken. They weren't at the Atlanta Falcons Stadium. They weren't at Mercedes-Benz Arena. They were at Kennesaw, so it was a smaller venue, better for U.S. Open Cup. And then the next day, Atlanta United played a Leagues Cup game in Mercedes-Benz Arena to what looked like 1,500 people. So it doesn't make sense, yet you're doing it. So we're just not buying what you're selling. And it leads to this fans thing, preserve our Open Cup. There's a strong the fan protests are about preserving our Open Cup. And the league is trying to sell this Leagues Cup thing. The attendance was clearly down, yet on the MLS soccer website, on MLS state-run media, the only attendance article you'll find is record broken in San Francisco. The most fans in the history of San Francisco went to the Leagues Cup game. Yeah, Chivas de Guadalajara still sells a game. Chivas de Guadalajara played San Jose, and a bunch of Chivas fans came out because Chivas doesn't show up to San Francisco every day. There you go. And they had a Stanford game, 40,000 people, big whoop. Overall, the Leagues Cup attendance was pretty poor. But you're only going to hear that on independent media like me, who has eyes and ears and sees what's going on. But we'll get into that in a bit. I want to bring up a little U.S. soccer history because the reason I call this the American Soccer War, or the New American Soccer War, or the Modern American Soccer War, is because the United States has had soccer wars. I love to read something for you guys from a great resource I've been logging into since high school. It used to be on something called SoverNet, but now it's on soccerhistoryusa.org. A great collection of soccer history from Roger Alloway and from the books of Colin Jost, who are the two great soccer historians, American soccer historians. If you're ever curious about American soccer, just Google Roger Alloway and Colin Jost, spelled Jose, is for reference. But here we go. Let me read you an article here. This year in American soccer, 1929, the Soccer War. The Soccer War was a momentous event in the annals of U.S. soccer history, one which not only served as a decisive battle for power between the United States Football Association, which is what the USSF was called back in the day. Before that, fun fact, it was called the United States Football Association. They divided the two words. Then they merged it and eventually rebranded to what we know it as today. But anyway, that's a sidebar. The decisive battle for power between the United States Football Association and the American Soccer League, but also led to the end of the first golden era of American soccer. The golden era. The dispute centered over the objections of the American Soccer League to the playing of U.S. Open Cup, National Challenge Cup games during the league season. The league claimed this disrupted the schedule and caused confusion amongst its fans, as well as creating an arduous playing schedule for the players. Sound familiar? This is 90 years ago. This is 95 years ago. Although the immediate issue was participation of ASL teams in the Open Cup, the real underlying struggle was centered around who would be the controlling organization of soccer in the United States. Oh boy, does this sound familiar. The only thing missing is Soccer United marketing from this article. It's essentially what U.S. football was back then, I guess. The league and the association had come to loggerheads before, when the ASL pulled its teams from the Cup in the 1924-25 season, an action which led to its suspension by the U.S. Soccer FA. There was also lingering resentment over the fracas that ensued over the ASL signing in 1927 of a number of European players by offering them more lucrative contracts than the European counterparts were able to afford. This nearly led to the suspension of the USFA by FIFA, but the association was able to forestall expulsion by agreeing to a number of sanctions and limitations. A number of ASL teams chafed under the new limitations and sought to free themselves from USFA control. This time, however, when the league refused to allow its team to enter the competition, 3 teams, Bethlehem Steel, Newark Skeeters, the Newark Skeeters, that's what they're called, Keeter, Skeet, 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 and the New York Giants, which was the name of a soccer team back then, defied the league and entered anyway. This led to their suspension by the league, and they were also fined $1,000 each, which was 100 years ago, so it's a significant fine. The teams then appealed to the USFA, who gave a stern warning to Bill Cunningham, ASL president. When he took no action, the ASL was suspended by the USFA. So the main league was suspended by U.S. Soccer back then over the signing of European players. Now, that is not the same. That's a little bit different. Although, we've got clubs like Inter Miami, and I think LA Galaxy got in trouble by spending too much money on Europeans. So I guess there is still a connection there. The ASL, unfazed, began the 1928-1929 season as an outlaw league, minus the 3 suspended teams. The USFA then played a major role in the formation of the new Eastern Soccer League, which took in the 3 renegade ASL teams and several teams from the Southern New York Soccer Association. The New Bedford Whalers of the ASL joined the league for a time as well. This action led to 2 rival leagues competing in the 1928 season and also caused a rift between the Southern New York Soccer Association and the U.S. Soccer Association, with the Southern New York Soccer Association allying itself with the rogue ASL. Both the ASL and the Southern New York Soccer Association applied for FIFA membership separately, but were both turned down. How about that? What if MLS went around U.S. Soccer's back and applied for FIFA membership independently? Times have changed. This led to a grim and contentious season with financial losses mounting on all sides. So this is the soccer war of 1929, or late 20s, and it led to the death of soccer essentially in the 30s, that along with the Great Depression, of course. Just that little thing called the Great Depression. So the American Soccer League in the 1920s was thriving. It was doing well alongside a young NFL, and it was one of the main leagues. But the 1930s came in, xenophobia was at its all-time high. American sports were supported, foreign sports were looked down upon, compounded with the fact that U.S. Soccer could not get its act together, essentially killed it right then and there and led to the dark days that led to the NASL to bring it out of its darkness. Now, that's the first soccer war. There was a small little soccer world in the late 60s as well. When the NASL wanted to start the league, let me go back a little bit. In 1966, the Germany-England World Cup final was broadcast on NBC. And it was a ratings smash. People loved it. Here in America, they would love that World Cup final. The famous World Cup final where England won 4-2, but there was that goal that wasn't really a goal. And in the German press the next day, they said Germany loses 2-2. Very, snidely. Hope I'm not mumbling too much. Mommy made me mash my M&Ms. Anyway, it was such a big hit, it convinced a bunch of investors to start a new professional league. And not one, but 2 professional leagues started. The USA, the United Soccer Association, and what was the other one called? The NPSL? Maybe it was even called the NASL. Hold on. Let me go back to this website and let me do that here. 1967, I believe, would be this year. The year after the World Cup. Big League Soccer returns to the United States. Here we go. As described in the 1966 summaries, the debut of Major League Soccer in 1967 was a sloppy one. So just Big League Soccer, not MLS that we know today. Caused by the inability of major soccer organizers to reach an agreement in a single league. As a result, 2 leagues made their debut in the United Soccer Association, which had the sanctioning of FIFA. That was the FIFA League. And the NPSL, the National Professional Soccer League, which did not. It was an outlaw league branded by FIFA. The NBSL, however, the NPSL, the outlaw league, they were on CBS. They had the TV contract. And back then, there were only 3 major networks. TV was everything back then. And if I'm not mistaken, let's see, the Just for Kicks, the CBS marketing slogan. The NPSL was like local clubs. It was like your New York Cosmos. And the league was not without some talented players, Warren Archibald and Phil Woosnam. And, they were local teams. But the USA, did this thing where they took European teams on summer league tours like they have now. Again, it's so funny how much hasn't changed in U.S. soccer. You know, like Stoke City would be in Cleveland for the summer, and they call themselves the Cleveland Stokers. And there were about, 6, 8, 10 markets that had foreign clubs spending the summer there wearing local colors and pretending to be a local team. That was the USA. And then when they would go back to Europe, they would get some local amateurs or college guys to fill in the scabs, and the quality of the games reduced drastically. But those were the two rogue leagues. But that only lasted 1 year in 67. And then the next year in 68, they merged. Could be 69, but I believe 68 they merged and became the NASL. So there you go. That's a mini soccer war. They set their differences aside, merged for the greater good. And we have the wild times of the NASL for the next shade under 20 years, 15, 20 years. And there you go. I bring that up because we cut to today. And right now, there's a tiff. There's the modern soccer war. And it comes with a few angles. Mainly, U.S. soccer, I talked about this with Bjorn. The U.S. Open Cup was that cool diner you always wanted to go to but never went to. And then when it leaves, you're like, oh, I never got a chance to go to that. That's what it's like. But when you took it away, it had quite the year last year when the Houston Inter-Miami final. Was it Inter-Miami? Yeah, right. The Houston Dynamo final. It was so much fun. It was one of those things you don't really know what you have until they take it away. Now, the U.S. Open Cup, the Major League Soccer and Soccer United Marketing were in charge of selling that tournament for years, 20, 30 years, 20, let's say 20. And the minute they weren't in charge anymore, the minute they pulled out, when U.S. Soccer and MLS split the TV rights, the minute that happened, MLS was like, bye. We pulled our teams from the league quick, too. And it just makes you think, are the priorities the good of the sport? No. MLS is a private entity. They are a private marketing entity. They're a private business, and they're just trying to sell a product, just like McDonald's. Don Garber has lamented the fact that he has to check in with Switzerland over a bunch of crap. He wished he owned his own sport, And to me, that's very telling of what his mentality is that he thinks he's reinventing the wheel with this league. And the fact that they're making choices to reinvent the wheel doesn't mean it's working. It just means that we like the sport and we're rooting for you. Despite of that, we just like the sport. We love a hometown club. We like our local team. We have fun going out. We have fun rooting for local clubs. Me particularly, I have a lot of fun rooting for Americans in development. I want to see John Tolkien do well at the Olympics. I want to see John Tolkien go off to RB Leipzig. I want to come, I love that Tyler Adams came from our academy. You need hometown clubs for that. MLS provides that through the academies. They create players and send them on, But, do we love the fact that they play during tournaments? No, I don't love it. I think it's ridiculous. The lack of promotion and relegation, I'm not going to get into that. There's a lot of pros and cons or whatever. That is whatever it is. It goes through the summer. That is whatever it is, It's the American seasons, the American climate does, I think, call for that. So I'm not, a fall to spring calendar would be very interesting, but I don't know how it would work in the Northeast or the Midwest more so. I mean, they have to take like a 4 or 5 months break. It's just not possible. But MLS is what it is. U.S. Open Cup we've had forever. Like I said, it used to be called the National Challenge Cup. It's a 100-year-old competition. There's history to it. An American fan, as the sport gets more and more popular, which it is, you look back at the history, and the U.S. Open Cup is there. There was that great march earlier on with the fans from St. Louis taking up all their title winners from like 1918 and 1920. There's history to it. So when Don Garber pulled out of the U.S. Open Cup, it was seen as very short-sighted. It was seen as not in the best interest of the fans. And, so we lead to yet another tiff between the owners and the fans. In Germany, when the fans protest, the owners listen. Just today, Stuttgart fans came together and voted 85% against their president. So boom, new president. Germany, the fans are in charge. Now, granted, that's Germany. It's maybe a special case. But let's compare ourselves to England. England, the owners are in charge, right? But you still got to listen to the fans. In England, the owners are essentially stewards of these old clubs, and they pass them on. They'll sell them when it's time. We saw the government took Chelsea away from Roman Abramovich and gave it to someone else because because of the sanctions. They've got rules they follow that aren't all about the almighty dollar. Here in the United States, we don't have any of that. It's a private company. They're selling a product. They seem to be very happy with their business model, and we're just along for the ride. And the U.S. Open, pulling our teams out of the U.S. Open Cup was a clear message for that. And that's why the organized fan groups, something we should have brought up last week, but we did not. But there was more steam throughout the week. A lot of the U.S. fan groups, I know Portland's doing it. I'm pretty sure. I should have done a full list, but a good amount. I've seen 5 to 10 official groups are boycotting the Leagues Cup. Because the way you communicate with your owners is the bottom dollar. It's the bottom line, which is smart. If you don't go to the Leagues Cup, if you show there's little interest in it, then boom, you get your U.S. Open Cup back. And if you show there's interest in U.S. Open Cup, boom, you get it back. So right now there's fans who are into the Leagues Cup, and there's fans who are boycotting the Leagues Cup because the Leagues Cup represents American clubs pulling out of the U.S. Open Cup, our own tournament. And it's like, can't we have both? Last year we had both. We had both before then. It's just because it's not part of MLS's marketing plan anymore. Boom, they're done. They want U.S. Open Cup to be better on their own. And that's a valid point. But you're replacing the U.S. Open Cup with Leagues Cup. And what you're doing is you're throwing some American-hosted cash grab tournament. We've done this before. We've had a Leagues Cup before, and before that we had Super League. We've had this tournament many times. Last year, it really, 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 really benefited when Lionel Messi decided to come to MLS. On his own volition, by the way. And it became a thing. It was quite a summer, but maybe it was a one-off. This year, Lionel Messi's injured. The Mexican clubs are up here. Them and us are being like, this should probably be in Mexico. Like, the fact that we're hosting this makes it uneven already. We're not stupid. We're aware of that. It should alternate at least. Go to Mexico every other year to give it some legitimacy. But we know why they don't do that. They make a lot more money selling the games here. Like that game up in San Francisco with all those Chivas fans. Charge the American dollar at the American rate. But I'm sitting here as a New York Red Bulls fan. We're playing Toronto 3/4 of the way into a regular season. It's not an MLS game. We're in the pursuit of an MLS title. These are MLS regular games we're playing, but it's like, no, pause for a month so you can play Toronto and New England again, but these games are not related to the MLS pursuit. And it's like, why? Why? It's like, yeah, I get the Mexican clubs are fun, but we're hosting them. I like the CCC. The Columbus Crew running the final against Pachuca, that's real. That's home and away. They play here, we go there. That's a real competition. We're not duds. We're not idiots. We recognize that as being a real competition. Whether you can mark it or not isn't your problem. It's how it works. It's the regional CONCACAF title. Could that be better? Yes. I believe they should move it to the fall. I don't want to talk about that right now. At the CONCACAF Champions Cup, they're in prime form. We're in early season form, and it shows. At the Leagues Cup, it's the other way around. They're in early season form. Now we're in prime form, and it shows. Perhaps, but we are hosted. And if we didn't host, if we played it in Mexico, I'd be much more curious about it then. Because in my opinion, MLS clubs just do not travel well. I don't know why. I'd like them to travel better. So there you go. I'm sitting here wondering why the league office is forcing the fans to protest. I mean, they forced us to. Why can't it be the Leagues Cup and the Open Cup? Just give us our soccer. Why is it always us versus the owners? Growth in MLS happens, but it's very, 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 very slow, right? Like the players wanted free agency, took them years. And now they only have limited free agency as best. The player rules are a little weird. Like sometimes you get DPs, sometimes you don't. Some teams break rules and get punished. Some teams tend to break rules, don't get punished. We want transparency, and you're like, oh, sure, transparency is a coming, and there's still no transparency. It's just this, the relationship between American soccer fans and its league is tenuous. And I would like the league to do something about that. I mean, it is going to affect your bottom line at some point. I'm very curious how the attendances are going to look at moving forward. But there you go. Thanks to Major League Soccer and Don Garber and the owners and whoever who treats MLS like McDonald's, where it's just some product they're trying to sell to consumers every year, independent of the fact that maybe there's a greater sport at large that people are fans of. And they keep giving us this tiff. Now it's a Leagues Cup versus US Open Cup thing. Apple TV, are they talking about it? No. The WWE style pay-per-view-ness of Apple TV is like, oh, wow, Leagues Cup. Wow, there's nothing else to talk about. Leagues Cup's the only thing that exists. And there's clear attendance issues. So what does MLS Soccer do? They announce record attendance in San Francisco. Look, whoa. So what about every other freaking game in the league, man? Fluff articles. Nonsense. We're not idiots. We know we can see what's going on. We can choose what's going on. We can offer the bottom line. We can stop buying your tickets, which we've done. Stop organize fan rests. Give it up for the fan groups who are growing some cojones and trying to get their voice heard. That happened last year. That happened this year. Maybe it's a post-COVID thing. Maybe it's we see how it goes in Europe and we're jealous. But there is something on the rise. Us American fans want better, and we're speaking up. And I like it. Yeah. I think that's my thoughts on our current American soccer war. Why do we have to have this contentious one or the other? Leagues Cup versus US Open Cup. I'm going, I'm not going. Just offer us tournaments that make sense. The league is the league. The cup should be the cup. And then the CONCACAF Champions Cup is the regional tournament. This Leagues Cup thing you guys are trying to start with Mexico. Here's my pitch that fixes maybe everything. Mexico also suspended promotion relegation. Mexico apparently canceled its Open Cup as well. It canceled the whole thing. Here's Stefan Schnitzel in the boardroom pitching a thing. How about the United States and Mexico have a joint Open Cup? How about that? Have a bunch of Mexican clubs and American clubs as an Open Cup working their way up, and then leading to a final 32 of 16 American clubs and 16 Mexican clubs, and having a home and away series going to a cup, and have that be the cup, the USA Mexico North American Open Cup. How about that? Win-win. Just an idea, but there you go. It's a cup. I like the idea of the U.S. Open Cup. I like the idea amateur clubs can get in there. I love the story of the taco truck team from San Francisco going in deep, and the small clubs like with Eric Ronaldo with Cal FC. That's the whole idea of the tournament and playing in small venues. And also for someone like me, you get to explore great clubs like Cincinnati from before they were in MLS, the Pittsburgh Riverhounds, Charleston Battery, clubs I don't see on a normal basis. Like there's different varieties of soccer, just like when you watch the the DFB Pokal or the FA Cup, and they go wherever they go. Let's say Wrexham, but I don't think Wrexham competes in the FA Cup. I could be wrong, but maybe they do. But you go to a small town and play in their field, have fun. Like when Bayern München goes to Saarbrücken, third division time, and loses. That's the beauty of it. It's a big deal for that small place. Here in Americans, we deserve the same. Why do we deserve any different? So there you go. This is the third soccer war. We're at war. The fans versus the board. We are at war. What will happen? I feel there will be a return to the U.S. Open Cup, and he'll use this way to be like, we've heard your voices. Now, if I put on my silver conspiracy hat here, I would say this might be a whole new Coke type situation where they found a great way for some free marketing is to pull out of the Open Cup, get people talking about it, get people excited about it again so they can re-enter it as almost a marketing ploy, like an indirect viral marketing ploy. Maybe that's the whole idea. If it is, good on them, because I think it is working. I mean, the U.S. Open Cup is getting definitely a lot more coverage from the fans. So, we didn't know what we had until we lost it. So there you go. Those aren't all my thoughts, but those are the thoughts I want to convey today. The New York Red Bulls tied Toronto and lost in penalties again, and a very sparsely attended game. NYCFC, same thing with Pumas. Tied, and then I think they won in penalties, I believe. So they got a point. So there you go. Like I said, maybe the tournament will heat up later. It should with the Mexican clubs and maybe the more important matches. So I don't think it's a total loss. But for someone like me, I'm just like, just don't get injured. We're fourth place. I'm talking to the New York Rebels. Keep your players healthy. Like, we should only be playing meaningful games of the Cup. I mean, we only have, 7 league games left, or something like 9 or 8 or 9. And in the playoffs, that's really all they care about. The only title the New York Rebels want is an MLS Cup. If we win anything else, it's like, cool. We want an MLS Cup. If the New York Rebels won the Leagues Cup, I'd be like, cool. We got a title. We can talk about it in 20 years. Be like, well, we have that Leagues Cup. But I want an MLS Cup. That's what American teams really want. And that's what the league has built itself on. It invented the teams to win an MLS Cup. So to pause it so we can go play some other cup they're making up, I'm only half buying that. Okay. 2 quick segments. Second to last segment, Olympics. Last segment, U.S. men's national team rumors. Head coaching rumors. Okay. Olympics. Yay, thumbs up. USA lost to France 3-0. But for anyone who watched the game, it was like 2 kind of weird goals from out of the box. Keeper maybe should have done better. And then, should have done better at that last goal. But, it wasn't, even though it was 3-0, it wasn't like a blowout game. John Tolkien had a great opportunity he should not have missed. He hit it right off the post. But then U.S. men bounced back with New Zealand. It's 4-1 drubbing. And they got Guinea tomorrow. And it's like, they should be able to beat Guinea. And I think hopefully the U.S. men, knock on wood, makes their way through the quarterfinals. And who knows? Makes himself a little run. I would love to see the U.S. play France again in the final as like a rematch in front of a full house. It'll be a lot of fun. So good on you, boys. Good on you, U.S. men. U.S. women dominated Germany 4-1. Ugh, Deutschen Frauen. But the U.S. women are flying. There was talk about, is the U.S. women's program as strong as it once was? Well, if they play against Germany, then the U.S. women are still the best in the world. Excellent 4-1 win. They very believably can go win a gold. For the U.S. men, they're still underdogs, but I'm rooting for both of them. So there you go. The Olympics. Thumbs up. It's a lot of fun. The U.S. men haven't been since 2008. So I'm watching, and it's good summer soccer programming. You get to see Duncan McGuire. Maybe it's a good coming out party for John Tolkien. Maybe, Georgi Mihailovic and, Nathan Harriel. It's just a great way to see these players you don't get to see super duper often. Kevin Paredes, Paxton Aronson, who just looks exactly like Brendan Aronson, even plays the same. It's good seeing these boys play. Mach hin, Jungs. Mach hin. Go, boys. Go. Okay. U.S. men's national team head coach rumors. Now, we've talked about this last week. Really take it with a grain of salt. No one knows anything. U.S. soccer's keeping this close to the chest. However, via certain YouTube/Twitter personalities, popular pundits, I'm not going to say their name, but there's 2 or 3 of them. They apparently have sources. Whether they're high level or not, I don't know. I read this really crappy article about high level sources says this, and it wasn't even in good English. I'm just like, is this AI? What is this? What even is this? There's just so much crap out there. It's hard to parse what's real journalism these days. A spoiler alert, most of it is not real journalism these days. Okay, anyway. The rumors I'm hearing through them are A, money is not an issue. If they need to get sponsors involved, they'll get sponsors involved. But it's a blank check. They are paying what needs to be paid. They're not skimping. And B, because they're trying to go for a high-level European coach. That's what they're going for. Apparently, they're concluding their meetings this week and maybe next week. They're concluded that they have no offers yet. There's no one's agreed to do it yet, but they feel hopeful they can get a deal done with someone. And they're interviewing candidates. I think they have a list. If you want to get specific, and there's a list of 5 candidates they're interviewing. No names. I couldn't tell you if it's Patrick Vieira, Mauricio Pochettino, Gareth Southgate or not. Taylor Twellman on a podcast today mentioned Gareth Southgate by name, but he doesn't know for sure. Although he might. He's kind of in those circles a little bit. Or if it's a Patrick Vieira, I don't know. All I know is that if it is Patrick Vieira, I don't know why they would need to give him a heap of money. I mean, he's available. He quit his last job. He was fired from the job before that. So you should be able to hire him at the same rate you had Greg on. I don't know why he'd be in demand. But for a Gareth Southgate or I hope Mauricio Pochettino, definitely Mauricio Pochettino, show them the money. And this source says if we can't get a high-level European coach, it wasn't for A, lack of money, or B, lack of trying. Essentially, they're really exhausting their efforts to find a good European dude. So that's the rumors I'm bouncing through and conveying again. Sounds accurate to me. I wouldn't challenge any of that. The only thing we can't get are specific names, but it's probably the names that have been bandied about. I'm still convinced that of our very exhaustive 33 manager analysis of a week or two ago, it will be from that list. So knock on wood. Knock on wood. Well, there you go. I believe that is all I have to say today in my solo show. Hello to the regular listeners. Hello to new listeners. Like and subscribe. Go on the Etsy shop. Buy yourself a bucket. Buy your merch. If you like this podcast, tell a friend. We love doing this, and we do believe there's a wider audience that needs to be reached. But we are very appreciative of you, Mr. Listener and Mrs. Listener. If you are listening, thank you. If you are watching, thank you. We will be back next week talking more of this Leagues Cup, maybe talking an Olympics knockout round run next week, and soon a Bundesliga preview. The Bundesliga 2 does start up pretty soon. There are some, there's a lot of Stuttgart lost a lot of their guys. Dennis Undorf's going to Brighton, and Guirassy went to, I believe, Dortmund this summer. And, it's not looking good for Stuttgart. They are a victim of their own success. They just don't have the muscle to keep their guys. Marco Reus to LA Galaxy continues to be a rumor. It gets more and more less rumored and more actualized. But I believe that is happening, which for an LA boy like me who loves Marco Reus and Deutschland, I'm excited. I will definitely go. I already go to Galaxy games, but now I would go to Galaxy games being like, let's go Marco Reus. Maybe run into more Germans there. We'll see. Okay, let's do a little outro. What do we got here? What is this? What do we got? Oh, how's that? That's pretty chill. All right, we'll go out on that chill beat. Hi, everyone. Tschüss. Bis nächste Woche.